the questions to keep myself aligned. Waste away the hours doing what I should, knowing that my soul tells me it's not for my own good.
This morning we're going to be talking about grief as a blessing. And I know that when we are in grief, when we're grieving something, it's hard to think of it as a blessing. We grieve a lot of different things. Good morning, Ursula. So we grieve a lot of different things, and we grieve anything, any change in our life. Even if it's a change for positive, we grieve it. Even if a marriage is ending and we asked for it, there is grief. Anything that is a change in our lives, we grieve. So grief is a blessing. There's this really interesting poem or quote that I found this morning about grief. And it says, "I saw grief drinking a cup of sorrow and called out, 'It tastes sweet, doesn't it?' 'You caught me,' grief answered, 'and you've ruined my business. How can I sell sorrow when you know it's a blessing?'" So how is grief a blessing? How is grief a blessing? The tragedies that we suffer or that we experience in our lives make us stronger. They always make us stronger. And we may not see it in the moment. You know, we lose a loved one, especially a child. You know, where is the blessing in that? Right? That would be my very first question. If someone said to me, grief is a blessing, I would be like, how is losing a child a blessing? That's not a blessing. But every fall, everything provides us a way to move higher. So there's one person who stands out in my mind right now, and I'm going to she talks about her story a lot, so I'm going to indulge and speak about her story. She lost her son at 17 years old. He was 17, and she lost him in a drinking and driving accident, and she was the one who actually found the vehicle. She found it when she was out looking for him. So how is that a blessing? It's a good example, I think. And the blessing we found, we spent a lot of time talking about this, and the blessing that we found in this was that she now is this awesome, amazing medium. She has this ability to help people now, which she didn't know about then. She had no idea. But in her desperation, in her sorrow, in her grief, she just wanted to connect with him in some way. And she kept going to different psychics and mediums and different ways of trying to find a connection with him. And now a short time later, not too long later, she realized that she could do this and she could do it well. And now her son Matthew is always with her. So whenever she is doing mediumship work for somebody, Matthew is the one who is helping her deliver the messages. Matthew is always the one bringing the information. So Matthew, we found out later, is a very old soul. And that was Matthew's job. That was his job. That was his purpose in this life, was to actually bring out the gift in his mother. You know, we all say there might have been a better way to learn that, but that was his purpose. And we can't really question, you know, why things happen the way they happen. Hi, Nancy. But even in the death of a child, sometimes it starts a domino effect, right? This domino effect of, well, because this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened. And that might have been the purpose behind that. So every fall provides an opportunity to move higher, even if it doesn't look that way in the moment. It's easier to see the blessings in people who are ill when they pass away, and because they're suffering. They're suffering. And in our, and I'm going to call it selfishness. It's need, selfishness, and sometimes in our need and our selfishness to not feel grief, to not feel that loss, we will do what it takes to keep that person with us, whether it's life support or lots of medications or whatever. It's for our own benefit, really, because they have no quality of life at some point. So, in that way, in those ways, we can see that there's blessings. Sometimes losing a job. So let's move on to other things. Losing a job allows you the opportunity to find another better job, something that's more suited for you. Losing a marriage brings something else into your life that's different, better, propels you higher. So in our grief over loss, we have to understand that there is blessing. And we can't always see it in the moment, but there is blessing. So we must respect our feelings. Like, respect your grief, respect it for sure. Don't be like, well, there's some blessing in this, so oh well. That's not even possible to do. So we have to respect our grief, but know that there is a blessing. There is something happening that is bigger than even what we can understand. There are no accidents. There are no accidents. I feel in speaking about this particular topic, I'm going through and thinking about things in my own life and the losses that I've had and the blessings that came out of it. And there were a lot. I didn't see them in the moment. Sometimes I didn't see them for a while. But now when I think back to them, I see it. I still think that there might have been a better way to bring that to me, but you know what? Who am I to question that? So there is something always to be learned in the middle of sorrow. And maybe it's as simple and yet as complicated as understanding the perfection of the universe. So we have to celebrate everything. We have to even celebrate our losses. I'm not saying throw a party, but there are some cultures. that celebrate someone's passing. So by getting down low in our lives, sometimes that is how we ascend higher. Some of us have to hit bottom or ascend lower in our lives that's what I did. I had to hit bottom, where there was only one other choice in my life that I could see. And by hitting that bottom, I was able to ascend in my life a lot higher. So even in that, some of us have to get down low. What was the blessing and the loss? It's hard to see. Honesty, by expressing your loss, understanding your sorrow. I find this subject difficult because I know that there's going to be people saying, but what about this and but what about that? But if you stand back for a minute and just sort of take the emotion out and understand that energy, that universe, it orchestrates everything for us, and there is no accidents. And sometimes the purpose of someone's life, or the purpose of the ending of a marriage, or the purpose of an ending of a friendship, or whatever it is that we get to, that there is some kind of a loss. If you think back to the losses in your life, what came of those losses? What showed up because of that loss that may not have showed up any other way? That's really what we have to think about, right? And understand that there is, even in the most difficult times of our lives, there are blessings. There are reasons why it is happening. There is something that is propelling us higher. We have to lose something sometimes to make room for something better, to make room for something else. And again, I keep coming back to the loss of children because that is, to me, hard to see the blessing in that. But there is. You know, when I sit and when I speak with my clients sometimes, when I speak to clients sometimes, you're right, Ursula, it is a difficult topic. And who come to me with grief and who have lost something so precious to them. And then we have to sort of sit down and talk about, but you know, what's come of that? Let's understand that that's happened. That's happened. We're going to respect that that happened. We're not taking anything away from the fact that that happened, but what happened because of it? You know, if somebody was hurt or murdered or something like that, you know, were people brought to justice that maybe would have never in any other way have been brought to justice, that saved the lives of many others? I don't know. Or maybe it created a domino effect in the family where a family that was so distant became close. Maybe that was the purpose of that child's life. It's difficult to know in the moment. It's difficult to know in the moment. But at some point, it will show itself. It will show itself. So, and we have to be thankful for that. And it's a hard thing. Some of these losses are hard things to be thankful for. You know, losses of marriages, for instance, you know what? Sometimes that marriage has just simply run its course. I always, you know, the one thing that I do tell the people that I work with, especially when I'm working with couples, is that, you know what, like that, you know, you try to save, of course, you're trying to save the relationship, but sometimes it's pretty obvious that it's done, right? I'm not going to, you know, you can't save something that's just over. And you know, when that saying, you know, till death do us part, was created, people were only living until they were 25 and 30. I mean, that was the life expectancy of people at that time. So, you know, it's not that hard to live with someone that long, but till you're 90, 95, sometimes that's a problem. And sometimes people, they serve a purpose. You both served a purpose in each other's lives when you were together. But the only way that you can grow, sometimes you can't grow if you stay together. That's just the way it is. And you need to separate so that you can both flourish and better things to come into your lives. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that things change. And we lose a job sometimes and then something more amazing shows up and we're like, wow, that was so awesome. Like, I'm glad I lost this. But sometimes we get so caught up in our loss that we can't even see anything, right? And that's when we let sorrow and feeling like a victim, I hate that word, feeling like a victim, I can't think of another word right now, but I really don't like that word, and just letting it absorb you. And when we do that, we can't see anything. We wouldn't be able to see anything that showed up for us because we are too absorbed in the loss to see anything else that will show up. So there are people who can't recover from the loss. That happens. And that's just because, you know, they're simply absorbed in it. They have allowed themselves to see nothing but the loss. And that happens. That happens. And it's unfortunate, but it does happen. And we can only send love to those people and hope that, and pray that someday they will see, you know, that something will happen for them. There will be opportunity. There will be blessing. And there was a reason. There was a reason, right? When we're done with our purpose on this planet, when we are done, when we have finished our path and purpose, when we have learned our lesson, that's generally when our life ends. Okay, that's generally when the life ends. And because we've done what we've come here to do. You know, we have a soul purpose, and we've come and we've done that soul purpose and we've lived it. And how we die is really irrelevant. That might be to be part of allowing opportunity for someone else. But the way that we die, that part, accident, natural causes, we die, somebody hurts us. That part, it doesn't matter. It's not that, it's important to those of us who have to suffer through it with people, but when I mean it doesn't matter on the grander scale of things. That's not the important piece. The important piece is that their purpose was finished. Their purpose, their path was finished, or they were so far off path and purpose, there was no way for them to get back. And then, it's just a matter of hitting reset and just starting over on that one. But, which I know it sounds kind of cold and whatever, but, there is a reason why we're here. Right. And that is in the grand scheme of things. There is a reason why we're here. Right. So it's not always it doesn't always turn out the way that we want. Okay. So that is a thing. So just speaking about grief and blessing today, as I said, it's a difficult topic to talk about because I don't want to belittle someone's grief, because I understand that it hurts, right? So it hurts, and especially in the moment and when it's fresh. And interesting that I decided to talk about this topic last night, and then I was dreaming about my father last night, and how I lost him. And I was writing in my journal before I went to bed about that as well, and I don't miss him any less. But as humans, we adapt. And the beautiful part of my father passing was that, number one, he was in pain. He was not in a good place. And he was ready. He was more than ready. The second part is he's with me all the time. Right? He's with me all the time. And I know it. I can smell him in the room. Like, he's with me all the time, and he helps me do what I do. And he shows up in all kinds of ways. And in my dreams so many times. And he guides me. Do I miss him any less? Nope. It's been 10 years. But we learn to adapt. And I see the blessings in his passing. But in my heart, it's fresh. It will never not be fresh. Right? But there is blessing in it. There was something that I gained from it. There was something that he gained from it. And my mother's friendship and mine grew stronger. It was a friendship that it was like non-existent. And now we have this friendship that we've never had. And we're closer. So things came from that loss. So there are blessings, even in the most difficult losses. So it's a hard topic. It's a hard topic, I get it. So I was not sure if I could talk about this today. But I definitely, especially seeing my father in my dream so clearly last night, I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to talk about it. So we've all had loss, but something good always comes from it. I talked about it yesterday, that my dad's death triggered everything in my life kind of exploded after that, and I wanted to end my life. And then people showed up in my life, and they helped me, and then I changed my whole life, and I started helping others. And this was this crazy domino effect that happened because of my father's death. That's what started it. That was the straw. That was what that significant moment in my life that changed everything. So, you know, think about the losses in your life and what changed because of those losses. What did that significant moment create in your life? Feels weird to say it that way, but it's true. So, what did the loss in your life create for you? Right? I'm thankful every day for what I do. And it all started because my father passed. So, interesting way of looking at things, difficult way to look at things. Absolutely, I get that. But I think that's how we grow, right? In those difficult, most difficult moments when we can find that light in the darkness. When we can find the light in our sorrow, I think that's those most difficult moments. So my challenge to you now is think about the losses in your life. And if there's been many, then just kind of focus on one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. And maybe journal about it. And what showed up in your life because of that loss? How did that loss change things for you? Learn from it. Give that loss meaning. Yeah. That's the best blessing that you could do, is give that loss meaning. So that is my chit chat for this morning. Woo! And I will talk to you all later. Have a fantastic day. Seriously, have a great day. I know I will. This is not going to be my day. I am going to honor my father and honor the loss and have an awesome day and go help some people. So I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye.
Look at my reflection in the mirror. I see that it's not the person who lives inside of me. Done with all the fear and doubts, the negativity. I'm shedding all the crap right now. I'm stepping